Stand. Sorry I'm a little bit late if you're watching live. Had a very busy day down in London town. If you've not seen my vlog at the Emirates, give it a watch. The link is in the video description. If you like fun and you like banter, you will love it. Absolutely love it. Because Arsenal, I hope we win on Friday night because I don't want to take any losses. And we certainly gave them quite a few bits of banter today. So I hope you watch that. But let's fly into this. The United stand. Manchester United, have they dropped a massive hint in relation to who their next Manchester United manager is going to be? Now, this revolves around a story that's coming out today that we've sort of touched on before, that United do want to appoint a director of football. And the director of football that they're looking at is Paul Mitchell, who is currently at RB Leipzig in Germany. Now, they are willing to chuck him a load of money because they do not want to lose him. But for me, I think he probably is the number one candidate I would go for based on numerous factors, really. There's him and there's some other guy, I forget his name. I think his Nichols might be his second name or something. I think he works with England. But the thing I like about Paul Mitchell is that he is a Manchester lad. And he actually said that himself. He said, you know, when Manchester United come for you, they're one of the biggest clubs in the world, and I am a Manchester lad. I believe he has been quoted as saying that. But the great thing about Paul Mitchell is that he was formerly at Southampton. Now, there is the rough and the smooth. There's a lot of players at Southampton who are... Look, I must just stop for a minute because there's a lot of people, and this is very serious, and obviously we're a topical community here. There's a lot of people talking about the Sala player who was flying from Nantes to sign for Cardiff for £15 million, and the plane that he's flying in has disappeared overnight, and they've all actually called off the search. I think they've suspended the search for him. It's very sad, and I think everybody in the live comments who was saying pray for Salah are absolutely correct. I think it's, unfortunately, as I said, people don't like this when I say this, but I said it after the Leicester helicopter crash as well. I don't think it's going to be good news. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, they can't find the bloody plane, and it's probably in the sea, and it's freezing around the UK at the moment, so the chances are not very good. We can pray for a miracle, and yes, definitely we will, but it's just tragic, isn't it? And I always say this, that life is short and you never know what's around the corner. It's borrowed time and it gets stolen away for you, and it seems to get stolen away at some of the most weirdest times, but that is life. Life isn't scripted, is it? So very, very sad news, and yeah, our prayers are with that. So we move on. Manchester United, life does go on. Sadly, it does. And no, it's not sad that life goes on. It's good, but you know what I mean. We mustn't forget those who are less fortunate than ourselves, and it's very, very sad. But Paul Mitchell, I like Paul Mitchell. He is my number one choice as director of football because he's done it in England. He's RB Leipzig now, but he started off at Southampton. I don't know whether he started at Southampton, but he was at Southampton. People like Mane, Lovren. But, you know, Southampton, especially around the time when they were Liverpool reserves, that's sort of when he was there and, you know, bringing players through. He's a director of football we're talking about here. Then he went to Spurs, and at Spurs, responsible for bringing in people like Toby Alderweireld, Son. He's got a good reputation. RB Leipzig are very, very similar as well. So, and he's a Manchester lad, and he's done it in the Premier League. So for me, I think he is the number one director of football, and I've said this for a few months now. Because yeah, you can go for somebody who's from Italy, and there's talk of a few people, but this is somebody who's done it in the Premier League, and you know, understands what the Premier League is about. So he would be very, very good. But the hint in that is that he is actually Manchester United's number one target at the moment. But of course, the hint in all that is that who did he work with at Southampton? Who did he work with at Spurs? He worked with Pochettino. So that is the potential sort of hint with that. So, hello? It's really loud. Sorry. Sorry, we've got some background noise. I think it's the cleaning of the kitchen, but it is causing a few problems. I'm no expert, but don't planes have trackers, said Red Baron. Yeah, I don't want to get into a conversation about all that, to be honest, because that's not what this show's all about. We've said our piece on that and everything, and look, it's with the authorities on that, and it is very sad. Talking about Manchester United, obviously Mitchell is making people think we're going for Pochettino. I don't necessarily think so. I mean, it says Solskjaer's job battle, and I think Solskjaer has got a job battle on, but it's like anything. Just because we get Paul Mitchell as our director of football, it doesn't mean we're automatically going to go for Pochettino. So I'm not massively concerned about that, if I'm totally honest. And I think as with many things, I mean, he was down at Arsenal today. Got loads of good content coming up for you. Got Claude and Ty and Robbie and stuff, and we were talking about what manager they most hope that we get and what manager they least like us to get as an outsider. And it was very, very interesting. But what I would say is that, as you know, we don't need to do anything till May. Pochettino won't make any decision about leaving till May. Solskjaer, we've got till May. We just wait till May. And I do want... Paul Mitchell is my number one director of football candidate. I don't know about you lot, but he is my number one candidate. And I don't think... Is he working with Pochettino now, would be my answer. No, he's not. Pochettino's at Tottenham. He's in Germany. So they're not cemented together. They're not married at the hip. So for me, it doesn't mean that that's going to be with that. However, there are strong rumours around Old Trafford that Pochettino is the man that is there for Ollie. So Pochettino is the man that Woodward apparently wants, and you know what Woodward's like. But I think Ollie will just cause him all sorts of problems over the next few weeks and months, and he could make it. He could make the job absolutely impossible for it not to come to him, and that's sort of my hope that what will happen with that. Also today, I mean, get in the comments about that what your thoughts is. But also today, it marks 1 year to the day that we signed Alexis Sanchez. What a year! How quick has that year gone? For one, I mean, it feels like yesterday we were going live, piano playing. I mean, basically, we pay him 350 grand a week to walk his dogs, and the best performance he's ever done is on the old piano. But I still do believe, I was talking to Rance about this today, I still do believe, and he was saying as well, that we haven't reached the end of the line with Alexis Sanchez yet. I don't think anybody can say for definite it's going to work out, but I think the general consensus is that we're not at the end of the line yet. I've heard people saying he's the biggest flop ever. You're the biggest flop ever when the line is over, when you've completed the journey at Manchester United. I don't think his journey is completed yet. I think if he went tomorrow, he probably is one of the most expensive flops we've ever done. But there's still a chance. There's still time to turn it round. Will he ever turn it round? To what extent will he turn it round, though? And I've got to be honest with you, because I don't like sitting on the French. I don't like sitting on the French. I definitely don't like sitting on the French, and they don't like me sitting on them either. But I don't like sitting on the fence either. And if you're asking me how I think this is going to end with Alexis Sanchez, if our push comes to shove, I think it's not going to end that well. I think he might put in a few good performances, but I don't think we'll ever get the consistent best paid player in the squad, which he is, world-class performer. And the reason I think that is not for the last year, really. It's when you look at what he was doing at Arsenal, he was starting to decline. And I think that was becoming a bit of a problem at Manchester United. So I don't think that necessarily will be end well. Having said that, I'd love to get proved wrong. I mean, if we could get prime Alexis Sanchez back, then we wouldn't be getting him back. But like what he was like at Arsenal, then that would be absolutely fantastic. But I mean, Mark Europia says he's a waste of a wage, and the bottom line is he is our best paid player, but he's also the best paid player in the Premier League. And when you look at it like that, in that isolated sentence, it's a disgrace, the performance he's put in. And I don't want to attack Alexis Sanchez. That's not what it's all about. But, facts, you've got to be factual sometimes. And, yeah, it is a disgrace what he's done in a United shirt over the last year when he's the best paid player in the Premier League. And I've said this many a time. He's basically paid more than Sala, Hazard, De Bruyne. And those three players are very, very consistent for their teams. I mean, they don't play well every week, Hazard especially. But they do perform. They are match winners, and they do get picked every week. Sanchez struggles to even get picked, let alone perform badly when he does. That's the harsh side with Sanchez, and we could all be very harsh on him. But I think as a fan base, United fans are very, very loyal and do want to give people a chance. And I think that it's great that we are pretty much in the main sort of going, well, it's not over for Sanchez yet. We've been very patient. Let's see what he can do over the next few weeks and months as well. But what I would say about Sanchez is, actually there is the whole argument as well, and I've put it to you lot, where does he play? Because he can't play ahead of Martial on the left, no chance. And that seems to be the position that he wants to play. Well, forget it. I don't even want Sanchez to get in the team ahead of Martial, because Sanchez is nearly 30, Martial's 23. So I want Martial. And Martial, I like Martial's style of play better. I don't want him taking Rashford's spot either. So there's one spot up for Alexis Sanchez, and that's the right side. But he seems very, very reluctant to play there because he never plays there. So the point with Sanchez is, yeah, he could come good. But do you want him to come good? And where do you want him to come good to play? For me, I want him to come good and play on the right-hand side. But I just don't see that happening, to be honest. But a year to the day. But you know what? We shouldn't be too moody about it because not every transfer works out well anyway. And I would say Mkhitaryan's not worked out that well at Arsenal either. He's probably done more for Arsenal than Sanchez has done for us. But he's certainly not... Remember when they got Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan and they were like... All the Arsenal fans were going... Oh yeah, look, Dortmund reunited. We're gonna smash it, and they're quoting all these stats from when they're at Dortmund, and they've never materialised in the Premier League. Banter Club. Make sure you watch that video. Link in the video description. My walk around the Emirates and all the statues they've got of B-Tech bloody Cantonars and B-Tech Nemanja Vidic and everybody else. It's such a funny place. It's such a funny place. You need to watch the video. Link in video description, and make sure you subscribe. What about a backup to Rashford, says JC7 Blessed. Well, almost perfect there. It's Dance Raining has just said Mo Salah's plane's crashed. It's not Mo Salah. And if that's a joke, it's not very funny, but it's not Mo Salah. It's Sala from Nantes, who's an Argentinian striker who Cardiff had signed for £15 million. It's nothing to do with Mo Salah. I'm just clarifying that because people in the live comments might actually believe it. So, what do you think about Carlos Carez becoming Manchester United Director of Football, says Blessing Chiwando. I want Paul Mitchell. I think he's got exactly the right background to be the Manchester United Director of Football, and I really would like him because you look at what he did at Southampton, you look at what he did at Spurs, and it was about bringing in top quality talent that nobody else was really. Son is the best example. Mane was another good example, but there's countless others. I think he'd be perfect for us. But just talking about a backup striker for Rashford. Now, I never listened to Big Sam Allardyce, but he was on Talk Sport today, I think it was. And I read an article about what he'd said. And basically he'd said that he's very worried about Marcus Rashford because he's going to be finished by the age of 30. And look, we can all ridicule Big Sam. He's not the best manager out there, is he? He's a hoofball merchant. But what he said actually made a lot of sense. And, there are people and pundits I don't really like, but they don't always get everything wrong. Sometimes they'll come out with a gem. And what he was basically saying is, the problem with Marcus Rashford is he's been playing since 17, 18 years of age in a Manchester United shirt. He's been playing left wing, up front, right wing. He seems to play every week, even if it's half an hour off the bench. He goes to England in the summer. He's getting no rest. And you're expecting him to do that for a decade with maybe 2 or 3 weeks off in a whole year. There is no off season now. He's going to burn out physically and mentally by the time he's 30. And it got me thinking, it sort of happened to Rooney, but we do need to be a little bit careful with Marcus Rashford because he has played a lot of football and he has got a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and which he's thriving to. But I do think we need. I said about Timo Werner on Football Daily the other day, Transfer Daily. I said that we do need a decent backup striker to share the load with Rashford, because it would be nice to say to Rashford, have a couple of weeks off over Christmas. It's very important because do you want Marcus Rashford to break the Manchester United goal record? Because I do. But to do that, even if you look at the amount of goals he's scoring per season, he probably needs to play past 30 for Manchester United. So we do need to be very, very careful with Rashford. And I think that is where a backup striker comes in. Very, 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 very good. When is the Super Bowl, Michael Rain? I might do a watch-along. I've never watched it in my bloody life, so that would be fun. I'm not late, Maruf. You need to refresh. We've been live for a few minutes now, so I'm certainly not late. Lindelof should be the Manchester United captain, says Michael Jones. Messi was playing since that young too. This is why I agree with the time off at Christmas. Just my opinion, says Red Baron. Yeah, and I do think Messi as well, whether it's tactical or not, he does seem to get an injury every now and again that just keeps him out for a month here and there. And I don't, I'm not naive. This has been going on for decades. Players get injuries that are sort of agreed between the club and the player that actually is just giving them a rest. Because actually, if the club came out and said, we're sending Marcus Rashford off to the Bahamas or Australia for a month to have a holiday, the press, and we had a bad result, the press would be like, oh, Rashford's sunning it up. That's why they stage it like that. Cobb Ross Aitken says, Paul Mitchell would be great director of football, but not no, he'd be a great HOR, Don't know what that is, but not a director of football. He has never been on in his entire career. He needs a director above him. I don't know what HOR stands for, Cobb. You really should have. You really shouldn't abbreviate if I'm going to struggle with it. I think he would be a good director of football. I choose to disagree, but thanks for the contribution, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree with you that. I was in London today, Danny Brown. You can get from where I live in the Midlands to London in an hour and a half and get back. So there you go. You would be a great director of football, and I don't think we will sign anybody helpful. We will probably sign more Deadwood. Your vlog was jokes, says Nikhil Ketani. I couldn't be director of football for Manchester United. No way. Head of recruitment, says Craig Warburton. Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, but there's a very thin line between head of recruitment and director of football, because the director of football will be involved in recruitment, and that's what head of recruitment does. So I think there's a very, very thin line between it. And also, I think people are taking the director of football role and looking at how other clubs use it and assuming that's how we're going to use it. I don't think that's how we will use it. I think the role at Manchester United basically will be to be a buffer between Ed Woodward and the new manager, and be involved in the transfers, which is probably why Pochettino and Paul Mitchell would work very, very well. Ryan FTW says Pochettino jumped ship whenever a big club comes calling for him. What's to say he wouldn't do it to us if Madrid want to in the future? Give Ollie the job. Yeah, interesting. And Imrano TV says Owen and Rooney started at 18 and were on the decline after 28. It's hard to be at the elite level for more than a decade. Only elite specimens like Ibra and Ronaldo can do it for longer. I think Ronaldo, certainly, I haven't followed Zlatan's career enough to know whether he had injuries, whether he got rested. But to be fair, I think most of Zlatan's career, he has played in countries where there has been a winter break. And I know it's only a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, but that's an amazing specimen. I don't know. But would Ronaldo have lasted as long if he'd stayed in the Premier League? The Premier League is a gruelling thing. And there's very few Premier League players that have managed to do it, especially strikers. It's very, very rare. I just want to bring in what Gary Neville said as well. Gary Neville has obviously been speaking about Manchester United, and fair play. He said that I think any manager could have come in and made a difference because that club had the players had stopped playing for Mourinho. I don't agree with Gary Neville on that, by the way. I think it's a bit of a... Look, Gary Neville obviously didn't want Mourinho to be sacked, so he's going to say that. A few other people have said it. I disagree that Manchester United players stopped playing for that manager, because what you are accusing them then of is if I knew Anthony Martial or Paul Pogba or Rashford had stopped playing for our manager to get him the sacked, I'd want them kicking out of the club. That's how strongly I feel about it. I don't believe that players in a Manchester United shirt stop playing for a manager, because, all right, you can dislike the manager, but what about all us lot who love the club and love those players? I don't agree with that. I think they were stifled by a manager who was a dictator, and that reflected their form. But what Gary Neville did say that I agreed with is that he has concerns about that squad and whether it's good enough to be a title-winning team, which is something I said a couple of nights ago. I think we've got 3, 4, maybe 5, 6 players that can be part of a title-winning side. But I think we need 4 or 5 to come in, and that's a lot of players to come in. And I think, it's interesting that Gary Neville has more or less said that as well, because there's a lot of positivity around Manchester United at the moment. But if we think we're going to solve it by not spending money, I'm sorry, we're still wrong. I still think we're £400 million away from being a title-winning side, and I think Ollie could become our manager, and we would still struggle next season to challenge with people like Man City and Liverpool, because they're on a different level with the squads and players that they've got compared to us. So I think he is right there. It's a reality check, but it's not something we need to massively concern ourselves about at the moment. But I do really think of it. Mark, would you rather Lacazette or Lukaku, says Fazan Clan? I'd rather Lacazette. I mean, Lukaku's just... I don't get what Lukaku's all about, to be honest, anymore. I don't really see how he sort of helps Manchester United going forward, because it's just... I don't see how Lukaku gets back into a Manchester United team, for one. What are we going to do if the board lets Solskjaer go for nothing, go for not getting top 4, and Pochettino and Zidane turn us down? How can Solskjaer trust the board then, says Brian Delaney? Well, that's about I don't think that would ever happen, because that's about being a clever business person. And if I wanted Pochettino or Zidane and I didn't want Solskjaer, I'd never let Solskjaer know. I'd be like, do you want the job, Zidane? No. Do you want the job, Pochettino? No. Ollie, you were always my number one. Sign up, mate. High five. But that's how you do that. Mr. Johnson says, look at Chelsea. They will bottle it after Sarri declared war on the squad. We can get third spot. I really believe that. I think it's going to be very interesting in relation to Manchester United. I really do. Somebody said they're trying to call. I know it was meant to be Discord. It's not Discord tonight, and the reason for that is because I've been in London all day. I got back very late, and I was late going live on this show tonight. So it was very nearly not going to be a show. So I'm not even set up to do the Discord. There was a few things I wanted to go live and talk about. I will get a Discord show in this week. In fact, we'll do it tomorrow night. So, Mark, what about Callum Wilson, says Craig Warburton. He's interesting as a backup striker. Lawrence Anneman says that Mike Phelan isn't getting the credit he deserves. I think he is. I think he 100% he is. We've mentioned him numerous times on this channel, and he gets mentioned numerous times in the live comments as well. I think Mike Phelan is pretty much, I would say, a good 80% of United fans have mentioned Mike Phelan quite a lot over the last few weeks and really appreciate what he's doing. So maybe externally he's not getting the credit he deserves, but to be honest with you, when United are doing well, we don't get the credit we deserve from the mainstream media anyway, so not really fussed. But as long as us as United, really it's about what United fans think, isn't it? And I think a lot of United fans are very pleased with Mike Phelan. Hardeep Hanal says, Mark, if Ollie finishes fourth and Poch, with all the injury problems he has till March, also finishes fourth, whom would you go for, Ollie or Poch? Well, they can't both finish fourth. So if Poch finishes fourth with all his injury problems and we finish fourth, that's impossible. We can't both finish fourth. But I think what you're trying to say is that if they both got if we've got I need to come back to that one. If they get third and we get fourth, what a decision for the club to make, and it's a very dangerous decision as well, because we're only going to get one shot at Pochettino, I think, and we're probably only going to get one shot at Ollie with this momentum. So if Pochettino gets top four, he's a very, very good manager, and he is a very good manager. But if he does it from this point with all the injuries he's got, and the Champions League coming back, he's a very good manager. If Ollie gets top four, from the mess that he took over in half a season, he's a very good manager. I think it's all hypothetical, because what if neither of them get top four? Who do you pick? But if they both got top four, and in May you've got to make a choice, no matter what happens, some people will say we should have gone for the other person, and that's why it's a dangerous decision for the board to make. My personal feeling is that I don't think Ollie even needs to get top four to get the job. I think you've got to look at, more importantly, the fact that he's only had half a season and what sort of football we play, how we compare to people like PSG, Liverpool and Man City in the next few weeks. Because if we go toe-to-toe with them and we're unlucky and we lose, then there's progress. If we go toe-to-toe with them and we're still miles off, then, is it enough progress? There's lots of things, and it will be an ongoing thing. David Mills says, it's another video, I know, but what's this about Lukaku won't leave? Does someone want him? You need to watch the video, mate. You need to watch the video. But effectively, I don't think Lukaku wants to leave Manchester United. Nicholas P, what do you think about bringing in Mislinets? That would annoy a few Arsenal fans. Yes, he's just left, hasn't he? I like Paul Mitchell. I really do. For me, he is the man. But, there we go. Somebody just said recap, which is a good time. So Manchester United are apparently their number one choice for director of football is Paul Mitchell, who is currently at RB Leipzig as head of recruitment. He was previously at Southampton and Spurs, and at Southampton and Spurs he worked with Pochettino. So there is a feeling that is that a big hint that they want Paul Mitchell to come in because they want Pochettino. Now, two things I would say. One, I actually think Woodward does want Pochettino, but I still think Ollie can change his mind and he's got time to do so. And two, Paul Mitchell would be my choice anyway. Then, he's not working with Pochettino now, so why can't he come in and work with Ollie? What he did at Spurs and Southampton was fantastic. Some of the players that he brought in, like Son, like Mane, and he's a Manchester lad. and he's Premier League proven. So he would be my number one choice. But Zuban says Paul Mitchell is the man. And yeah, Paul Mitchell is way better, says Ali. So he would be who I would go for. I don't necessarily... At the moment, I'm Team Ollie. I don't want Poch, but things can change. You know, what if we went and lost the next 3 or 4 games? People would change. Simple as. Lukaku and Sanchez would be great subs at number 9, says Wengel Simmons. Will they be happy to do it? I think you've made a very good point there, because will Lukaku and Sanchez be happy to sit on our bench? I think in different ways they've both got egos that believe that they should be starting, and I ain't got a problem with that. You know, you've got to have that ego. To be honest with you, if I was Alexis Sanchez and I was sat on the bench, I wouldn't be happy. I'd be like, play me or lose me. But the reality is, the cold, harsh truth is, you're not being played because you're not good enough. So I don't think Sanchez and Lukaku will want to stay at Manchester United and sit on the bench. But I believe that's what should be happening at the moment. My Sophie says, who's your player of the season so far? Mine would be Lindelof, based on consistency. I think you've got to put Lindelof in the equation so far, because I actually said this today. Lindelof is the only positive from Mourinho's season this year, which is what, you know, Mourinho's gone, but if you look up until December when Mourinho was sacked, was there any positives? There was the odd result, but the one consistent thing is he actually did play Lindelof, and he stuck with Lindelof, and Lindelof played very well against Ronaldo while Mourinho was in charge, and he's continued it. So I think Lindelof is up there. I do think Luke Shaw deserves a shout out. I know recent form hasn't been as good, and he wouldn't be above Lindelof for me, but the first 2 months of the season, Luke Shaw won Player of the Month. He's gone a little bit off lately, but I think Luke Shaw's been good. De Gea, of course, always consistent. But everybody else, I think, really, you're judging them on the last month. So over a season, I think you're probably right, Soph. I think it would have to be Lindelof over the season. I mean, Ragul says Rashford. I don't think Rashford was particularly good when Mourinho was here. Martial wasn't. Well, Martial had a scintillating October and November, so you could say that. DT's anger management counsellor says prayers for Sala. French authorities have come out and said that they've postponed the search until sunrise, and chance of survival is unlikely. Saddest news. It is really sad. It is really sad. And I tell you what, I don't mind revisiting it, because football takes second place to human tragedy like that. And I think we're only obviously talking about it because it is football. He'd signed from Cardiff for 15 million from Nantes. He's flying over, having said goodbye to his teammates. He's put the Instagram post out, and then unfortunately the plane has gone missing. And it just shows you how something that's meant to be really positive can be snatched away. That's how fragile life is, and it is very, very sad. It is sad. It's like what happened with the chairman of Leicester. You know, watching a game of football, you get in the helicopter, and then comes down. We've all seen the videos, and it's horrible. It's horrible. There's nothing you can say. There's nothing really you can say other than it's just really sad. Luke Skywalker, imagine Phil Jones versus Neymar and Mbappe again in the Champions League. Haha. To be honest with you, I'm a little bit concerned about the weekend. Aubameyang and Lacazette against Phil Jones. I think that's our one weakness, but the Arsenal stuff we've got to come for you. Imrano TV, City got Tixi Begaristain as director of football before they got in Pep, because they both worked together at Barca. Maybe Woodward is replicating that. Thank you, Imrano. Maybe he is. And United will not sign anyone, says Subish GRG. Well, I actually still think we are going to sign somebody. I think that we are. And maybe you should watch Transfer Daily tomorrow and find out who. New contracts. Maybe Smalling will be fit. I really hope that Eric Bailly or Chris Smalling do play on Friday night. I can't wait for that game though. I'm so excited for it. I'm going to end a little bit early tonight. Well, I say a little bit early. It's still nearly the normal time. Please do smash a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Let's see if we can get up to 1,000 likes while we are live. And thanks everyone who's tuned in. I've really enjoyed it. The only reason I'm going to finish early is because I was down at the Emirates today filming some stuff with Arsenal Fan TV, which will be going up over the next couple of days for the game on Friday night. Can't wait for that. But we were meant to start filming at 10 a.m. and I was down there a little early. Everyone else got stuck in traffic. So I had half an hour to kill. So I did it by doing my own goal bridge tour of the Emirates and the outer area of it. They've got a few statues there. Links in the video description. If you fancy a little bit of a laugh or you've watched it already before, maybe watch it again. Please do subscribe to my channel as well, because I've got a lot of content going up on there at the moment. And but give me your thoughts on my Goldbridge Emirates vlog. Let's just say it's boiled a bit of piss with Arsenal fans, which was tick, mission accomplished for me. But I enjoyed doing it. So give it a watch. Link in the video description. And I shall see you in the morning. Oh, well, I'll see you on the vlog if you're going to watch me on that. But I'll see you in the morning for Transfer Daily. Got loads of great content coming up. We filmed some really good stuff with Robbie and Claude and Ty, the original AFTV crew. And yeah, some really good stuff coming up for that. But make sure you watch the vlog and I'll see you in the morning.